Turkestan, also called Xinjiang, is a region in Central Asia with a long and complex history. The region is known for its diverse ethnic groups, which include the Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Tajiks, and many others. Throughout history, various empires and kingdoms have controlled Turkestan, including the Mongol Empire and the Qing dynasty. In the late 19th century, Turkestan came under the control of the Russian Empire. The Russians divided the region into various administrative units, which later became the Central Asian republics of the Soviet Union, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan. After the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, these republics became independent countries. However, the Uyghurs, who are predominantly Muslim, remained a minority within China's borders. Since the Communist Party took control of China in 1949, the government has sought to suppress religion, including Islam. In East Turkestan, the Chinese government has been accused of committing human rights abuses against the Uyghur population. The Chinese government views all kinds of Islam practiced in Turkestan as extremist due to past independence attempts and periodic violent outbursts. The government has blamed the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, a separatist group founded by militant Uyghurs, for terrorist attacks. However, since the late 2000s, the government has pursued a more aggressive policy toward the Uyghurs, which has included widespread surveillance, internment camps, and forced labor. Turkestan was put under a grid management system in which towns and cities were divided into squares of roughly 500 people. In these squares, the police closely monitor residents by routinely scanning their identification cards, taking their photos and fingerprints, and searching their cell phones. A large portion of the data is gathered in a big database, and artificial intelligence is then used to compile lists of persons who are deemed suspicious. Between 80,000 and 2 million Uyghurs and other Muslims, including ethnic Kazakhs and Uzbeks, have been arrested since 2014. The Chinese government refers to the institutions as vocational education and training centers, whereas international media organizations and researchers refer to them as concentration camps. In 2017, journalists documented the construction of new re-education centers, as well as the enlargement of existing mass incarceration institutions. The majority of those held in re-education camps were never charged with a crime and had no legal option to protest their incarceration. According to media reports, the detainees were targeted for a variety of reasons, including traveling to or contacting people from any countries China considers dangerous, attending mosque services, having more than 3 children, and sending texts containing Quranic verses. The Chinese government first denied the camp's existence. By late 2018, they started acknowledging that there were vocational education and training centers in Xinjiang. They publicly stated that the camps had 2 purposes: to teach Chinese laws and vocational skills, and to prevent citizens from becoming extremists. Beijing hopes to eradicate any possibility of separatist activity to continue its development of Xinjiang, which is home to China's largest oil and coal reserves. Human rights organizations have observed that the economic benefits of resource extraction are mostly going to the Chinese people while marginalizing the Uyghur residents. There is little information on what happened in the camps, but several captives who have since fled China have described awful living conditions. In 2022, the UN issued a report based on interviews with dozens of escaped detainees that revealed patterns of torture or other forms of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment in the camps. Numerous investigations revealed that captives were forced to vow loyalty to the CCP and renounce Islam, as well as sing communist propaganda and study Mandarin. Others claimed that they were abused and deprived of sleep during interrogations. Women have revealed their experiences with sexual abuse, including rape. The Chinese government has reportedly forced Uyghur Muslims to eat pork and drink alcohol as part of their so-called re-education programs. Chinese officials have threatened to imprison anyone who disobeys birth control directives or has too many children after Uyghur women reported being forced to undergo sterilization. Detention also caused hardship in households. Children whose parents were detained in camps were frequently forced to live in state-run orphanages. Many Uyghur parents residing outside of China were presented with a difficult decision: come home to be with their children and risk incarceration, or remain separated from their children. Journalists have discovered that many aspects of Muslim life have been destroyed. Since 2014, Communist Party members have been enlisted to live in Uyghur houses and report any actions deemed to be extremist, such as fasting during Ramadan. Officials have demolished thousands of mosques, frequently saying the structures were poorly built and dangerous for those attending. To combat forced labor in Xinjiang, restrictions have been implemented by foreign governments. Through the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, the United States effectively outlawed all imports from the region. The UK and the EU have also suggested sanctions against businesses that fail to ensure that no forced labor is used in their supply chains. Partners of China have been noticeably silent. Many nations have chosen to ignore the violations of human rights in favor of their strategic alliances and economic links with China. The crimes committed against these communities are undeniable evidence of a determined attempt to eliminate their existence. Refusing to acknowledge this issue would encourage those who desire to continue committing atrocities against helpless civilians, as well as violate our shared humanity. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this in the future.